Yeah, just gonna go ahead and get this off to the races because I do have other things I need to do. Now, as you may have possibly heard, there is a new Superman movie out right now, and I have been talking about it. Other people have been talking about it. I was going to make a video discussing my thoughts about it sooner, but I didn't get around to that because I wanted to wait and see what everybody else's reactions to it were. Not because I wanted to go with whatever the popular consensus was, mostly just because I wanted to see what other people thought of the movie. I knew what I thought because I liked it so much that I went back and watched it again in the theater, and then I've watched it again here at home. But I really enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to. I did mention in my last video that I was going into it optimistic already, so you could say that I did have that bias, but I also have my biases in some way against James Gunn's movies, so I really wasn't sure what I was going to get going into this, and I'm actually glad to say that I was pleasantly surprised that the overall product was great. I think definitely the story that was told here was simple enough to get people up and going with this new story without doing an origin story. I feel like there has to be some sort of trade-off, and that's kind of what we got here, because James Gunn definitely didn't do the whole origin story part for Superman. But in lieu of that, we got a very cut and dry story with a villain like Lex Luthor, a villain that everybody is more than likely going to know and recognize. So even if you're not doing the origin story, you're at least telling a story that people can recognize. Superman versus Lex Luthor. Very simple. So that was a good way, I think, to get this up and running. As far as if you're not going to, like I said, do the origin story, I think this is a good way to start it off. And it also kind of helped in that this story kind of wrapped up in itself, in that Lex Luthor basically gets arrested by the end of it and he goes off to jail. So now that opens up Superman stories to do anything else, which apparently they're going to be doing bigger stories, which that was one of the things with the movie. It was a little bit bigger. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say that it was bigger than it needed to be, because it was bigger than what we actually saw. As we know, there were a lot of things that were cut out of the final product. So what exactly else there was, I know there was more with, the Daily Planet people, and I would have loved to see more with Kat and Steve and Ron. I would have loved to see more of them because they actually were interesting in the story, but some of them barely got anything. Although I will say, the two times that I saw it in the theaters, that part in the ship when they're in Mr. Terrific's ship and they're getting ready to take off and Steve is in the back crying like, why don't I have a seat? Both times I saw that in theaters, I think that got like the biggest laugh out of the entire crowd both times. So I will say, I feel like had they explored that dynamic with that group more, there probably would have been, more, of that from the crowd. Like, people probably would have enjoyed seeing them more. But I can understand why you kind of trim some of that down, just because when you have that many characters and you have that many different plot lines all going, it can work in a comic book sense. But when you're doing a movie, you do run the risk of people losing their interest very quickly and forgetting what's going on. Not that you can't run that risk with a comic, but it's easier to just, flip back and go and see, oh yeah, that's right, that's what this person said, that's why this person is here. It's easier to do that in a comic book than it is, obviously in a movie theater. You can't rewind and go back and see, wait, why is that person here? Did they mention why that person's here? You can't really do that here, but they did just enough with these characters that you got at least a taste of them, and then there were other parts of their personality that I feel like, with, like, obviously Kat, they kind of put forward in the way that she was dressed, the way that she presents herself. So I feel like they gave us enough of that, and then the overall focus was more so just on Superman and his relations with not only Lois, but also with, like, the Justice Gang as well. So again, I loved it overall. The one thing I was pleasantly surprised about, I didn't know how I was going to feel about Nathan Fillion being Guy Gardner. Not because I have any, qualms about Nathan Fillion. He's a great actor. I just wasn't really sure how he was going to play Guy, how that was going to come across. And now that I've seen it, I had no reason to be worried. I actually, it's rare that I enjoy Guy Gardner as a character overall, regardless of the medium. He's not my favorite Lantern, but in this movie he probably jumped up a couple spots, just because, yeah, the way that he played him was so spot on but still entertaining. Like, he never came across as annoying. It was fun all the way through, and that's what I needed from that character, and that's exactly what I got. So I think overall, but even with them, like there was more to it. I definitely think I've seen a lot of praise going to Mr. Terrific, and it absolutely deserves it. I will say one thing. I will say one thing, and if you've been watching my videos long enough, you know this about me. I'm a diehard like old school like Justice Society and Justice League fan. So for me, and I love seeing the Mr. Terrific because I think he's great. The only thing that makes me a little bit sad is that, and I know that I am in a club with exactly probably three other people, but it does make me a little sad to know that we're probably never going to see Terry Sloan as Mr. Terrific ever again. Like, the only time you ever see Terry Sloan anymore, he's a villain. That's the only thing they ever do with him anymore. He's just a villain. Like, he's never going to be Mr. Terrific anymore. But you know what? It's fine. It is what it is. It happens. So unfortunately, and that's part of the thing. When you're a fan, when you're a diehard fan of the older characters like I am, at some point you just kind of accept that they're probably going to either retire them, stop giving a shit about them, and even if they don't kill them off or have them retire, they're just going to stop putting them in stories, and you'll wonder whatever happened to that character. You'll never know. That you kind of accept that comes with the territory. They get retired, they get killed, or they just get forgotten. It happens. So that's what's happened with Terry Sloan. Now we have Michael Holt, and that's totally fine. Like I said, Michael Holt has been Mr. Terrific now for decades, so I have no problem with him. It's just, it's just there's that one little part of me that I'm like, as that fan, I'm like, can't we see Terry one time as like Mr. Terrific again? Just doing his thing. I don't know. That was my thought. But anyway, random stray thought I had when I was watching the movie. But I was very glad of all of the portrayals of the different characters. Nobody was really played as like a joke, which is another thing you have to worry about. Recently in superhero depictions, is you have to wonder, are they just going to make this character a joke? And really, there weren't any characters in this movie that were just a joke. So I'm very glad of that. I think that going forward, one thing that I am worried about going forward, and I will say this, is the Supergirl movie. There's a lot of excitement from what I've seen so far on social media. There seems to be a lot of excitement around her movie and around her character, and that's great. I am also looking forward to watching it, whatever they have. I am worried though about the source material. Here's what I will say though. The story they're choosing to adapt, it's written by Tom King, and when I read it the first time, did not enjoy it. Did not enjoy it. Did not enjoy it. I may be biased though. So, in the spirit of that, in that vein, I have decided I'm going to reread the story here soon, sometime soon. I don't have an exact time frame for it, but then again, they don't really have a time frame for when her movie is coming out, do they? Yes, they do. So I have like a year, roughly a year, to like read it again. So I'm going to give that one another shot and see if maybe with fresh eyes, maybe I enjoy the story more this time. And granted, it's not going to be a one-to-one adaptation. They never do those. So it's just mostly going to be for me to see what in there they're going to actually adapt. Now that I know they're actually going to do it. Although it does make me kind of funny. Y'all want to hear something funny? I had those individual issues. I bought them, obviously from the store. And then my mom has a resale shop, one of those like thrift store type of things. I gave them to her because she wanted like some comics from me, like just to sell. I was like, yeah, here's Supergirl stuff. Like people will buy that, and they did sell. They sure as hell did sell. So somebody out there has some comics that are probably, if they took care of them, probably worth a little bit more than what I paid for them. Can y'all hear my dog? She's playing with a toy that she found. She decided to include herself in the video. So thank you for that, Athena. Thank you. Let's see. So yes, I do have my concerns regarding her movie just because, again, you never really know how it's going to be adapted. And the other thing is, I feel like her type of story with what they're trying to do with, she's different than Clark. She's the party girl. She's a lot less responsible. That seems to be the type of vein they're going for here. If they're going to do that thing, strangely enough, I feel like that's the type of story that James Gunn should be writing, but he's not writing this one. So, and he's not directing it either. So it's going to be interesting to see how exactly they adapt that story and her character. I'm looking forward to watching it regardless. I'm not gonna lie about that. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a Tom King fan, and he is very much involved with much of what DC is doing. But that's the thing. He's just one of the people involved in the mix, so you never really know exactly how much influence a person's going to have in that type of situation. So that's why I'm saying it's going to be interesting to see exactly how they adapt his story, knowing he's also having some input on how it's being adapted as well. I mean, it could end up working out for the best, it could end up working out for the worst, because that's the thing. When you have a story, when you have like some sort of, you know, foundation, there's the chance that other people could get it, and, you know, in that adaptation process end up making things better, and end up, you know, trimming out the parts that maybe I don't like and adding in other things that I would like. So I'm willing to give it a shot just on that basis alone, not because I loved Superman and now I think that everything's going to be great. No, I'm genuinely curious to see how that movie's going to turn out. So we'll see if these hits are going to continue coming for DC. I desperately hope so, because as I've mentioned before, I am a little bit more biased towards DC than Marvel. I it's almost even, but it's probably like 55-45. You know what I mean? So, well, that's probably not even a fair delineation either, because that leaves out all of the different indies. So, but that's a whole different scale. Anyway, doesn't matter. It's all subjective, really. So yeah, those were my thoughts. I just wanted to make a quick video basically to talk about it, because I needed to do the follow-up just to basically say what I thought about it, whether or not I actually liked it, because that's kind of the thing, you know. If you're going to talk about a movie, you might as well at least say whether or not you liked it and why you liked it. So that's what I decided to do here, and I welcome you to let me know if you've seen it, what you thought about it. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Is this not your Superman? Is this your new Superman? Whichever the case may be, if you're somewhere in between, I would love to know about it. Feel free to let me know. And I will be coming back for more, because we're only a couple days away now. I mean, people are already talking about watching, you know, the Fantastic Four. So that's the next one I will be going to watch. So I'll make sure to go ahead and make a video talking about that as well whenever I do end up seeing that, which will be in just a few days. So that will be coming hopefully sooner than this one came after the last one. But anyway, yeah, like I said, share your thoughts with me down below. And if you're done here, I would sincerely appreciate it if you would go and read a book. But if not, then I'll see you on the next video.